You find it? Beautiful people, Trina, that's wobble, that's wobble. Ooh, this one I said I was gonna post. Let me see if I can post this in here for y'all real quick. Because we're looking for the moon, just in case y'all want to see how they track it across the world. I know I posted this last moon. Peace and blessings, Lavon, Uncle JB. My grandbaby out here in the background, my sweet sugar. Okay, I don't think I can post it here. What up? What up? Oh, if I can get this. Hold on. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna post this that way. Y'all got it here early. I post on Facebook and YouTube real quick over the video. Just in case y'all didn't get it last month. Let's go to the. You still there, Fanny? Did it fall between the chair? Is she laying on it? Okay. I posted on Facebook under the video for today right now.
Well, they're gonna be hot. They're gonna cut on this game.
Wow.
I need to delete profiles and put a lock on it.
That's fine with me. Because they be trying to do everything but their schoolwork first thing in the morning. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, here we go. Post this here. Oh, I need it, first of all. Can I do a comment? I don't think I can do a comment down here yet. Okay, well, I'll share it on YouTube. Excuse me, afterwards. All right, y'all. Top of the day. Where's my coffee right here? Go back to my page so I can see. Demi, shalom, shalom. Auntie, shalom, grand rising. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I was just posting the link for if it's cloudy where you're at, some of the sites where they track the new moon, where like the live updates come in from different people that spot it. I know you can use your app and see, but I'm hoping to clear up. The skies are completely overcast right here where I'm at, so I'll still be watching and checking, see if it clears up. If not, I'll be watching some of the reports from around the world just to see when they begin spotting it, you know, just in case you wanted to check it out this month, just in case, y'all. Okay. All right, well, happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is May the 12th, 2021. Day 151 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 820. Remember, that is without the feast days or the Sabbath feast days added in, because they're rest days and we rest just like Yahuwah has commanded us to, right? Okay, so today we're reading 2 Chronicles 6, 7, and 8, and we're picking up on Fossilized Customs on page 52, where we left off yesterday. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the Shema. You found it? Just turn on the light. You probably just overlooking it. Shake the blanket out. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children. And you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God as he has commanded us. Can y'all still hear me on YouTube? I'm assuming y'all can, because nobody said anything. I muted it when I went to post the link over here, and while I was doing a Shema, I unmuted it. So I'm thinking that it didn't have any kind of effect when y'all actually hear me, because nobody said anything. Y'all didn't say, I can't hear you. Okay, so, well, yeah, so let's pull this up. Oh, sugar. You want me to hold it till you get it? You can bring it here. She'll be my guest this morning. We might have a surprise visitor this morning. Now I can keep it quiet so we can read. Because, you know, some people get distracted. They're like, can you keep your kids quiet in the background? Hold on, let me grab it. Hold on 1 second. He said, it don't make no sense where the bottle went. He said, tell your angels to get a bottle back. My oldest son. This is his youngest baby girl. Say hey, everybody. This is Miss Jaden. We call her baby doll. Or sweet sugar. You okay? Okay. He's looking for a bottle. Okay. So she hanging out with us for a few minutes. She nice and sweet. Okay? All right.
You can't even put that bottle right underneath this blanket, Mark. I swear.
I promise you I ain't touch it. I just picked up the baby. My oldest son and I. Okay, y'all. 2 Chronicles chapter 6. Then Solomon prayed, O Yahuwah, you have said that you would live in a thick cloud of darkness. Now I have built a glorious temple for you, a place where you can live forever. Then the king turned around to the entire community of Israel, standing before him, and gave this blessing. Praise Yahuwah, the God of Israel, who has kept the promise he made to my father David. For he told my father, from the day I brought my people out of the land of Egypt, I have never chosen a city among any of the tribes of Israel as a place where a temple should be built to honor my name. Nor have I chosen a king to lead my people Israel. But now I have chosen Jerusalem as the place for my name to be honored, and I have chosen David to be king over my people Israel. Notice how Yahuwah said he always refers to the king over his people as David, even though David has passed away many, many years ago. But he promised David that he would always have a king on the throne of his people to rule all including the tribe of Judah, all 12 tribes. So although it may not be David because he has passed away in his generation, the king will rise, at least the ruling king on earth aside from Yahuwah, will come directly from that line. So now this is Solomon, the next in succession under King David, which is his son. Then Solomon said, my father David wanted to build this temple to honor the name of Yahuwah, the God of Israel. But Yahuwah told him, you wanted to build a temple to honor my name. Your intention is good, but you are not the one to do it. One of your own sons will build a temple to honor me. Now Yahuwah has fulfilled the promise he made, for I have become king in my father's place, and now I sit on the throne of Israel, just as Yahuwah has promised. I have built this temple to honor the name of Yahuwah, the God of Israel. There I have placed the ark, which contains the covenant that Yahuwah made with the people of Israel. Then Solomon stood before the altar of Yahuwah in front of the entire community of Israel, and he lifted his hands in prayer. Okay, y'all. Every time I do this prayer, I'm trying to hold myself together when I do this prayer. All right. Then Solomon stood before the altar of Yahuwah in front of the entire community of Israel, and he lifted his hands in prayer. Now Solomon had made a bronze platform 7.5 feet long, 7.5 feet wide, and 4.5 feet high, and had placed it at the center of the temple's outer courtyard. He stood on the platform, and then he knelt in front of the entire community of Israel and lifted his hands toward heaven. He prayed, O Yahuwah, the God of Israel, there is no God like you in all of heaven and earth. You keep your covenant and show unfailing love to all who walk before you in wholehearted devotion. You have kept your promise to your servant David, my father. You have made that promise with your own mouth, and with your own hands you have fulfilled it today. And now, O Yahuwah, the God of Israel, carry out the additional promise you made to your servant David, my father. For you said to him, if your descendants guard their behavior and faithfully follow my laws as you have done, one of them will always sit on the throne of Israel. Now, O Yahuwah, the God of Israel, fulfill this promise to your servant David. But will Yahuwah really live on earth among people? Why, even the highest heavens cannot contain you. How much less is this temple that I have built? Nevertheless, listen to my prayer and my plea, O Yahuwah, my God. Hear the cry and the prayer that your servant is making to you. May you watch over this temple day and night, this place where you have said you will put your name. May you always hear the prayers I make toward this place. May you hear the humble and earnest requests from me and your people Israel when we pray toward this place. Yes, hear us from heaven where you live, and when you hear, forgive. If someone wrongs another person and is required to take an oath of innocence in front of your altar at this temple, then hear from heaven and judge between your servants, the accuser and the accused. Pay back the guilty as they deserve. Acquit the innocent because of their innocence. If your people Israel are defeated by their enemies because they have sinned against you, and if they turn back and acknowledge your name and pray to you here in this temple, then hear from heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel, and return them to this land you gave to them and to their ancestors. If the skies are shut up and there is no rain because your people have sinned against you, and if they pray towards this temple and acknowledge your name and turn from their sins because you have punished them, then hear from heaven and forgive the sins of your servants, your people Israel. Teach them to follow the right path and send rain on your land that you have given your people as their special possession. If there is a famine in the land, or a plague or crop disease, or attacks of locusts or caterpillars, or if your people's enemies are in the land besieging their towns, whatever disaster or disease there is, and if your people Israel pray about their troubles and sorrows, raising their hands toward this temple, then hear from heaven where you live and forgive. Give your people what their actions deserve, for you alone know each human heart. Then they will fear you and walk in your ways as long as they live in the land you gave to our ancestors. In the future, foreigners who do not belong to your people, Israel, will hear of you. They will come from distant lands when they hear of your great name and your strong hand and your powerful arm. And when they pray toward this temple, then hear from heaven where you live and grant what they ask of you. In this way, all the people of the earth will come to know and fear you, just as your own people Israel do. They too will know that this temple I have built honors your name. If your people go out where you send them to fight their enemies, and if they pray to you by turning toward this city you have chosen, and toward this temple I have built to honor your name, then hear their prayers from heaven and uphold their cause. If they sin against you, and who has never sinned, you might become angry with them and let their enemies conquer them and take them captive to a foreign land, far away or near. But in that land of exile, they might turn to you in repentance and pray, we have sinned, done evil, and acted wickedly. If they turn to you with their whole heart and soul in the land of their captivity and pray toward the land you gave their ancestors, towards this city you have chosen, and toward this temple I have built to honor your name, then hear their prayers and their petitions from heaven where you live and uphold their cause. Forgive your people who have sinned against you. Oh my God, may your ears be open and your ears Oh my God, may your eyes be open and your ears attentive to all the prayers made to you in this place. And now arise, O Yahuwah, and enter your resting place, along with the ark, the symbol of your power. May your priests, O Yahuwah, be clothed with salvation. May your loyal servants rejoice in your goodness. O Yahuwah, my God, do not reject the king you have anointed. Remember your unfailing love for your servant David. I held it together, y'all. It almost got me. Hold on. Okay. 2 Chronicles chapter 7. When Solomon finished praying, fire flashed down from heaven and burnt up the burnt offerings and sacrifices, and the glorious presence of Yahuwah filled the temple, and the priests could not enter the temple of Yahuwah because the glorious presence of Yahuwah had filled it. When all the people of Israel saw the fire coming down and the glorious presence of Yahuwah filled the temple, they fell face down on the ground and worshiped and praised Yahuwah, saying, He is good, and His faithful love endures forever. Then the king and all the people offered sacrifices to Yahuwah. King Solomon offered a sacrifice of 22,000 cattle and 120,000 sheep and goats. And the king and all the people dedicated the temple of Yahuwah. The priests took their assigned positions, and so did the Levites who were singing, His faithful love endures forever. They accompanied the singing with music from the instruments King David had made for praising Yahuwah. Across from the Levites, the priests blew the trumpets while all Israel stood. Solomon then consecrated the central area of the courtyard in front of Yahuwah's temple. He offered burnt offerings and the fat of peace offerings there, because the bronze altar he had built could not hold all the burnt offerings, grain offerings, and sacrificial fat. For the next 7 days, Solomon and all of Israel celebrated the festival of shelters, which is also called tents, booths, Sukkot, or tabernacles. A large congregation had gathered a large congregation had gathered from as far away as Lebo Hamath in the north and the brook of Egypt in the south. On the 8th day, they had a closing ceremony, for they had celebrated the dedication of the altar for 7 days and the festival of shelters for 7 days. Then, at the end of the celebration, Solomon sent the people home. They were all joyful and glad because Yahuwah had been so good to David and to Solomon and to his people. Now, listen to the Yahuwah's response, right? Thank you, Shayla. I just looked up and saw you say we can hear you. So, a lot of people, when they do this, you will hear people quote this passage of scripture. If my people who are called by name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sins, and heal their land. Like, everybody is familiar with that, but for some reason they don't include the prayer that King Solomon had prayed. And what Yahuwah had said in that, if my people who are called by my name, that was a direct response to King Solomon and what he prayed. Remember, because we just prayed, he asked him, he said, Father, we're dedicating this temple to you. He said, even if this temple is not here, or if your people have been exiled because of their sins, because everybody knows that the only way that Israel can be cursed is if Israel curses herself. Like nobody else can curse us, right? We only curse ourselves by turning away from Yahuwah's commands. So what the nations do is they craftily deal with us by causing us to sin, cause us to kill our own children and to fight amongst each other and to turn from Yahuwah. They put things out there in front of us, enticing us, and then it's us who actually goes after those things. And when we do that, we sin and we turn away. And Yahuwah's even explained that. He said, nobody can curse what I have blessed, right? And so, but the only way that Israel can be cursed, no nation can curse us. They have to cause us to curse ourselves, right? It's impossible for anybody to curse us. Even if they tried to curse us, the curse cannot fall where a curse improperly placed cannot alight. Meaning, if you improperly curse somebody, what's going to happen is your intended victim will not be cursed. That curse will actually backfire and hit you, right? So if you decide you're gonna be out there handing out curses to people, first of all, don't do that. Just don't, right? Don't do that. Second of all, if you don't know if they truly belong to you, who or not, you can find yourself in a world of hurt. And all this time you took conjuring up whatever this was that you decide you want to place on them is going to backfire on your own life and all that you have control over, right? And all that are under your hand of care. It's going to backfire. So what he said, even if your people turn from you and our enemies come capture us and we become desolate and poor because we have turned away from you. And if you go back and you read King Solomon's prayer again, he identified that in the prayer. If we become exiled due to us turning away from your commands, or if this happens to us because we have turned from your commands, he said, if we turn back to you and we repent, then please hear our prayer. If you go through and you will see it, he knows only we can curse ourselves. But if we repent, please hear us and forgive us, right? Okay. So this right here, chapter 7 of 2 Chronicles, is Yahuwah's direct response to King Solomon. He said, even if the temple is not here, or if we have been scattered to lands far, far away, even if our people realize what they have done and they just turn and face the direction of the temple, which if here in my kitchen east, well, would be out this window, the window where you see the sun shining in. So remember, the sun rises in the east. So wherever the sun rises in the east, that's where the temple was built. So that's why you see a lot of people when they pray, they'll pray towards the east, right? Well, those who understand, because we're not the temple has been destroyed, right? But Yahuwah still reigns, and we know that it was there. So that's why people, they kind of still trying to keep to some of these things. Some may do it because they've been taught, and some people do it because they don't know. They just kind of follow. Oh, we're supposed to do this, boom, but they don't really understand why, right? Okay. Yahuwah's response to Solomon. So Solomon finished the temple of Yahuwah as well as the royal palace. He completed everything he had planned to do in the construction of the temple and the palace. Then one night, Yahuwah appeared to Solomon and said, I have heard your prayer, and I have chosen this temple as the place for making sacrifices. At times, I might shut up the heavens so that no rain falls, or command the grasshoppers to devour your crops, or send plagues among you. Then, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will heal from heaven and will forgive their sins and restore their land. My eyes will be open and my ears attentive to every prayer made in this place. Remember, it's almost word for word responding to what King Solomon said. He said, well, I might just do this and I might just do that. But yes, my eyes will be open and my ears attentive to every prayer made in this place. For I have chosen this temple and set it apart to be holy, a place where my name will be honored forever. I will always watch over it, for it is dear to my heart. As for you, if you faithfully follow me, as David your father did, obeying all my commands, decrees, and regulations, then I will establish the throne of your dynasty. For I made this covenant with your father David when I said, one of your descendants will always rule over Israel. But if you or your descendants abandon me and disobey the decrees and commands I have given you, and if you serve and worship other gods, then I will uproot the people from this land that I have given them. I will reject this temple that I have made holy to honor my name. Clearly, we know that's to happen because the temple is no more, right? And we are scattered to the four corners of the earth. I'm going to read that again. But if you or your descendants abandon me and disobey the decrees and commands I have given you, and if you serve and worship other gods, then I will uproot the people from this land that I have given them. I will reject this temple that I have made holy to honor my name. I will make it an object of mockery and ridicule among the nations. And though this temple is impressive now, all those who pass by will be appalled. They will ask, why did Yahuwah do such terrible things to this land and to this temple? And the answer will be, because his people abandoned Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors who brought them out of Egypt, and they worship other gods instead and bowed down to them. That is why he has brought all these disasters on them. Right? Shalom, Mom. Shalom. So that is what we stand our post to tell our people now. We are here. This is happening to us because our ancestors did exactly that thing that King Solomon prayed about, and that Yahuwah confirmed to him, and not just him, but also to Abraham and to all those ones coming down the line. He reiterated, he kept warning us, but we did not hear, and we turned away and we worshiped other gods. So he exiled us to the lands that our fathers never knew, to lands of the gods where they can freely worship the gods that our forefathers never knew, right? He said, and you're going to be there, and you are going to get your fill of those gods whom you pray and worship to, and we'll see what you get from them. Let's see if they answer you in your times of distress, in the times where they're murdering you down and mowing you down in the streets and stealing your things and everything. Let's see if the names you call on, what they profit you, right? What has JC profit any of us? Nothing. 2 Chronicles chapter 8. It took Solomon 20 years to build Yahuwah's temple and his own royal palace. At the end of that time, Solomon returned his attention to rebuilding the towns that King Hiram had given him, and he settled Israelites in them. Solomon also fought against the town of Hamath Zobah and conquered it. He rebuilt Tadmor in the wilderness and built towns in the regions of Hamath as supply centers. He fortified the towns of Upper Beth Horon and Lower Beth Horon, rebuilding their walls and installing barred gates. He also rebuilt Baalath and other supply centers and construction towns where his chariots and horses could be stationed. He built everything he desired in Jerusalem and Lebanon and throughout his entire realm. There were still some people living in the land who were not Israelites, including the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And these were the descendants of the nations whom the people of Israel had not destroyed. So Solomon conscripted them for his labor force, and they served as forced laborers to this day. But Solomon did not conscript any of the Israelites for his labor force. Instead, he assigned them to serve as fighting men, officers in his army, commanders of his chariots, and charioteers. King Solomon appointed 250 of them to supervise the people. Solomon moved his wife, Pharaoh's daughter, from the city of David to the new palace he had built for her. He said, "My wife must not live in King David's palace, for the ark of Yahuwah has been there, and it is holy ground." Then Solomon presented burnt offerings to Yahuwah on the altar he had built for him in front of the entry room of the temple. He offered the sacrifices for the Sabbaths and the new moon festivals and the 3 annual festivals, the Passover celebration, the festival of harvest, and the festival of shelters, as Moses had commanded. In assigning the priests to their duties, Solomon followed the regulations of his father David. He also assigned the Levites to lead the people in praise and to assist the priests in their daily duties. He assigned the gatekeepers to their gates by their divisions, following the commands of David, the man of Yahuwah. Solomon did not deviate in any way from David's commands concerning the priests and Levites and the treasuries. So Solomon made sure that all the work related to the building of the temple of Yahuwah was carried out, from the day its foundation was laid to the day of its completion. Later, Solomon went to Ezion-Geber and Elath, ports along the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. Hiram sent him ships commanded by his own officers and manned by experienced crews of sailors. These ships sailed to Ophir with Solomon's men and brought back to Solomon almost 17 tons of gold. And this, my beautiful people, is where we will stop our reading for today over here in the book of the Law and the Prophets. And we are going to pick up over here with fossilized customs, beautiful people. Okay, so we stopped on page 52. Let's pick back up here. An elders meeting. All right. Paul called a meeting of the elders in Ephesus. Well, it's coming from Acts 20:13 through 38. Okay. Paul called a meeting of the elders in Ephesus, a pagan town. Note the name ending. He was in a rush to get to Jerusalem by the day of the Shabuot, called Pentecost, and he knew he would never again see these brothers in the flesh. Now I know that none of you among whom I have gone about preaching the kingdom will ever see me again. He passionately pleaded with them and then mentioned the coming of savage wolves among them. Keep watch over yourselves and all the flock of which the set-apart spirit of Yahuwah has made you overseers, or elders and bishops. Be shepherds of the assembly of Yahuwah, which he bought with... See? Okay, I'm sorry. I missed that part. I went through and I crossed some stuff out. Hold on. They get into the human sacrifice. Remember, Yahuwah said human sacrifice is... No. Okay, I'm going to read this again. That's 11 that's been added, y'all. Keep watch over yourselves and all the flock of which the set-apart spirit of Yahuwah has made you overseers. Be shepherds of the assembly of Yahuwah. I know that after I leave, savage wolves will come in among you and will not spare the flock. Even from your own number, that group of men will arise and distort the truth in order to draw away disciples after them. So be on your guard. Remember that for 3 years I never stopped warning each of you night and day with tears. Now I commit you to Yahuwah and to the word, or the Torah, of his loving kindness, which can build you up and give you an inheritance among all those who are set apart, or among all his saints, so the Kodeshim, or the set apart ones, right? I have not coveted anyone's silver or gold clothing. You yourselves know that these hands of mine have supplied all my own needs and the needs of my companions. In everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak, remembering the words of Yahuwah himself. It is more blessed to give than receive. Paul was speaking to the elders. He knew it would turn into a business and even mentioned the wolves reference from 2 Peter chapter 2. There can be no mistake here, because this is a second witness in the writings to what we see happening around the world today. You need me to hold her? You need me?
I didn't notice her battlefield.
Oh, okay. There can be no mistake here, because this is the second witness in the writings to see happening around the world today. He even quoted Yahuwah's words about receiving, and this quote is never taken in context. Instead, it is turned around and used to plunder the flock. The merchants are also mentioned in the book called Revelation, or Apocalypse, or Uncovering. These merchants have drunk the maddening wine, the teachings of Babylon, taught heresies like Easter, Ishtar, Sunday, and other Nimrod nonsense, and growing rich from having done so. So what he was saying was he was using Paul as an example here, although I rarely ever use Paul, right? I just use straight stuff from the Torah, right? So he was saying Paul, one who was coming teaching them the ways of the Torah, right? He said I never use this as an excuse to take anything from you. He said we supplied all our needs, and not only did I supply my needs, all our needs, we supplied the needs of all those who came with us, with our companions. But we can see, if you've been in the church world, like I said, I come out of the church world, so I know this stuff firsthand. When they call or they bring preachers into a place, it's like you got to pay for this and you got to pay for this. It's like they're making everybody else pay for what they should pay for themselves, right? They're asking for offerings, and we need the tithes, we need to take care of this. I'm like, y'all got this all, y'all hear me say all the time, this is all chopped and screwed, right? Then they take it out of context. Although don't muzzle the ox while he treading out the grain. I'm like, y'all are crafty deceivers. And the people who don't know the words of Yah, they get taken by it, and the money gets taken along with their good common sense, right? So wake up, people. Arise and shine, for your light has come, right? What is light? Light is truth. You can see what is true. Oh, Yah, your words are true. Oh, Yah, your Torah is truth. What is his Torah? His law, his instructions, right? Everything that flows from his mouth is truth, right? That's what we should cling to. We should cling to Yah, to his words, always, right? And anybody else that's bringing anything and telling us, thus saith the Lord, first of all, we need to identify which Lord are you talking about. Are you talking about Yahuwah, the creator of heaven and earth, or are you talking about one of these gods who are really no gods at all, right? We need to identify that first and foremost, right? All right. This knowledge, when made known, will rock Babylon to its roots. This is the rebellion Paul prophesied to occur as 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. This is the exposing of the man of lawlessness. Reading 1 Timothy 5, 7 through 9 shows your first duty is to your own relatives, to lessen the burden on the assembly of supporting widows. So if you have widows in your family or the fatherless in your family, you being trained in the words of Yah, knowing what Yahuwah says about this, knows that if this woman or if these children have blood relatives, right? When Yahuwah also talks about fasting in Isaiah 58, here's what I call fasting. Like, y'all doing it wrong. He said, what my fasting is helping the poor and the widows, taking your food and giving it to them. He said, you guys fast for strife and all kinds of crazy stuff. He said, but this is what I call the fast, right? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to set the captives free, to clothe the homeless, to feed the hungry. He said, that's what a fast is to me, right? You know, so if they knew the words of Yah, they would know that as blood members, we got family members who are experiencing some of these things according to Torah, according to Yahuwah's instructions, the instructions of life, the instructions of love. We who are blood relatives, family, that's our duty first and foremost. We don't send them down the street. Oh, they can help you down there. You know, don't come to my house. Now, Yahuwah has a problem with you, right? So if we have family members, he said, this is exposing the man of lawlessness. Reading 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 7 through 9 shows your first duty is to your own relatives, to lessen the burden on the assembly of supporting widows. So there are widows and those who are fatherless indeed that have no help. They don't have any kind of family love, like they're the only ones. Those should be the ones that other members of Yahuwah's people, the congregation or the set apart ones, like it really now becomes their responsibility. There's no family present, none alive, or at least not any. Then now it's our responsibility to step in as your family, right? And to handle these. But if you got blood family, it's first our responsibility to take care of those needs, right? I'll read this again. It's like my third time. Reading 1 Timothy chapter 5, verses 7 through 9 shows your first duty is to your own relatives, to lessen the burden on the assembly of supporting widows. At 6:5, men of corrupt minds think that religion is also a means of financial gain. Read the context. And like I said, you can also, like if you didn't have this, if you didn't have Timothy and Thessalonians, you could have gone right to Isaiah because that's where they pull it from, right? So like I said, I wish he would have, I mean, it's his book. He can do whatever he want to do. But I know what's located in the Torah, so I can tell you exactly where you can go, where they learned this from, right? Because they're teaching you what they learned from the Torah or in the books of the prophets and the writings, right? They could have used that, but the people who wrote the New Testament, they just put it here like it's their words. And a lot of people, when they read it, oh, well, these are Paul's words. No, Paul was repeating the words of Torah or the words of Yah. Why not give the root reference, like the authority reference, instead of when you quoting it here? And Paul said this. No, Paul didn't say that. Yah said that, right? Paul was repeating that. Like, so if y'all hear me, or what Pam said, no, Pam didn't say. I learned it from Yah. Yah said it, and you can find his original words right here. So don't say my name. Say Yah's name and give that reference. I'm just passing the reference along to y'all. The merchants use Acts 4:32. The merchants use Acts chapter 4, verses 32 through 36 to trick the listener into believing that money is to be collected and put at the apostles' feet to support them in the Creator's work. If you stop right now and read this in its full context, you will see that this programming is completely wrong. What's happened is that denominations formed as teaching authorities, and they have set up teachers for themselves and turned aside to myths. The original intent was for the support to be distributed among the needy so that no one is in want. We mentioned that yesterday, right? You're not giving the money, and you can see it. Y'all can see it. People bringing money, giving it to the preachers and the apostles. Some have taken on the title and given themselves the own title of apostle. Like, this is what I do. I'm like, okay, so what you do? Okay, apostle, what you doing with this money that's coming into you? Is you giving it to the poor? Or is you building your house? There is a problem here, because I see you building your house and people dying. No, sister, let me give you a list of who can help you. I'm like, and y'all call me the blasphemer. The original intent was for the support to be distributed among the needy so that no one is in want. This is just one area where inoculating or vaccinating the masses of people against the correct behavior is done. Like I was talking to my mama yesterday, they pushing herd immunity. Like they're pushing herd immunity with the vaccine. That's what's being pushed in the church and a lot of religions. Herd immunity. This is what you need to live. Everybody need to, yep, go and get it so we all can live in peace. No, so we all can live in deception and in a lie. No, thank you. I'll pass, right? I'm going to go on out here and start my own garden. We're going to learn how to feed our own family. We just learned how to dig a well. We know they call it, I was telling my mom, they call it witching for water. I don't know why they call it witching for water, but it's a way to find out if water is on the land. I'm like, yes, we need to try this. We know how to find water on the land, and we know when we're close to it. When we start seeing the sand come up, yes, keep digging. You just got a couple more feet to go, right? We know. You can keep your herd immunity message. We trust Yah. We cling to his words, right? Y'all curse, not me. Look, this is just one area where inoculating or vaccinating the masses of people against the correct behavior is done. It's almost like everyone is under hypnosis, but actually a psychosis has developed. These merchants are businessmen. To steer you away from obeying commandments, they will say, we now have liberty in Christ, or we now live in the age of grace. But sure, they want a lot of your money. Make sure you go ahead if you want to bless me. My PayPal is in the description box. You heard me, Elijah. That's what they do. Guys, and it's so subtle. And I see people, and when I hear it, I roll my eyes. See, go ahead and bless me. I ain't asking for donations. But if you're feeling nice because I'm serving the Lord, go ahead and drop it in here. Go ahead. I got my cash out here, and I'm like, why can't you just give the message freely, like Yahuwah has given it to us freely, right? I'm just like, see that I'm watching. I'm giving you the side eye now. I'm giving you the side eye because you might have a purchase price, and I can't cling to your words if you got a purchase price, because let somebody come, they got the right amount of money that can purchase you. I'm just like, yeah, no, go ahead with your PayPal, huh?
That's no different than a modern day pastor who throw around a collection plate.
Thank you, son. Thank you, Elijah. Hallelujah. Thank you. My children know. Like, we ain't falling for this crap no more. No matter how subtle it is, we stand away from y'all. We stand all of you. Dana, that pisses me off. What is that? To know? What is that? RNBT. I don't know that acronym. I'm a little... That pisses me off to... Oh, okay. I think I know what you meant. It's probably a typo. That pisses me off to no end. Trina, I know, right? Give your best blessing. Yeah, no. Y'all won't catch me doing it. Don't send me nothing. Not nobody. If you bless, hallelujah. All blessings flow right to him. Don't send me nothing. Yahuwah has blessed the work of me and my family hands where we take care of ourselves. We appreciate it. I get it. People just like to bless people, and I get that because we do it, but I'm saying I'm not here soliciting money from nobody. We just simply giving y'all the truth, right? Give your money to where it's needed. You got somebody in your family, their power about to be cut off, go find her, go pay that power bill. Like, seriously, that's how I feel about it. Check your family first. Check your family first. Make sure your family is good, right? And if your family is good, then well and good. Put that money in savings or something. Do something to invest, right? That's how I feel about it. Look, it is interesting that Rabbi Yahusha threw some merchants out of his father's house. He must not like money being involved in spiritual matters. He also once said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to Yahuwah what is Yahuwah's. Your book says Kaiser, but we know Kaiser is Caesar. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, hey, and give to Yahuwah what is Yahuwah's. The government wants your money, and Yahuwah wants your obedience. When the veil in the temple was torn from top to bottom, it signaled the secession of... I missed this part too, y'all. Hold on. When the veil in the temple was torn from top to bottom, it signaled the cessation of ceremonial law, but the moral law that defines sin is still there and always will be. To steal, kill, adulterate, or covet was a sin 10 years. Let me read what he just said. Look. To steal, kill, adulterate, or covet was a sin 10 years before he died for sin, and they were still sinful 10 years afterwards as well. If we are free from the Torah, then human sacrifice or murder would not be sinful. Okay, that's true. Human sacrifice. Human sacrifice is wrong. Like, and JC dying, like how they said it. Like, let me tell you something. Oh, Trina, she made a comment. She said, yeah, Elijah remembers the hard times. Man, I feel foolish. I remember I dropped 10 grand and the church closed. Yo, Trina. Oh, I got stories about that. Let me tell you something. Look, y'all. Let me pause right here. Let me say, she just made a good comment. Now people be posting their cash out for my birthday, taking the lead from their pastor. I know, right, Dana? Look, let me tell you something where I knew something was wrong, right? Because we have a giving heart. I have a giving heart. My husband has a giving heart. And this is for her comment. She said, I remember I dropped 10 grand and the church closed. Look, although we had times where we struggled a lot, Yahuwah has always been faithful to us, right? Like, we never lacked, we had never had need of anything. Although it seemed like we was coming up, man, how we gonna pay this, and that. Yahuwah always came through for us, right? And we never had lack for anything. So as Yahuwah began to bless the business, and here's one thing where I was kind of going back and forth, because when you come out of the church, they teach you, oh well, if it don't meet the need, it must be a seed, and you need to give your tithe. That's why your money drying up, because you ain't getting it to the church, you ain't getting it to y'all. And I used to be taken by that, and I would faithfully make sure that we were boom, we sending this and we sending that. One time a pastor, we had given more. With us, I would say at that time we was the youngest couple in the church. We had given more than some of the older people who had been given a lot, and it was only like $12,000, right? But even we was in shock. We was like, what? We gave y'all $12,000 this year. Me and James looked at each other.
So invested and so focused on bless me.
Yeah. We was like, if this is the way, then y'all bless us. So every time we got paid, make sure tithes and offering. You know what? This. Get it faithfully. We was doing it, and when he came, and I was shocked. We didn't even know the pastor was gonna do that. When he said that, we just kind of elbowed each other. We was like, we gave how much to this church? And we think about all the time. We know we was running low on food. We called James' parents. Hey, we need some money for groceries. We need some help. Look, we couldn't even keep our cell phones on, calling them from pay phones. And I'm just like, oh my God. We gave how much to like this was a bad year for us. Like what we considered to be bad, right? But then they said, well, we was like, you know what? Something ain't right about this. Like, how's we struggling? And you just told it, like, hold on, give us a copy of that paperwork, please. And we got a copy of our giving. And I matched it up with our checkbook and stuff. I was like, well, God darn it. How do we give this? But we done missed rent. We had to round up rent a couple times this year. How many times we had to call your mom and daddy because we needed food? I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. We needed gas money. I'm like, how? And it baffled me. I'm like, Father, how we gave this much? I was like, now I know you faithful. And listen to what I'm saying. Our heart was in the right place because this is what we believed. This is what was taught. And so we was faithful. Like we was faithful Christians. Like we really was, because our heart was truly to know Yah and go after him and to please him. So we was doing what they taught us that we should be doing, right? And we did it faithfully, even to our own hurt where we were struggling. We was like, well, we trust Yah gonna see us through, right? And although he did, that was one of the hardest things for me to break us away from this whole tithing system, because they constantly inundate you with, oh, well, you suffering because you ain't giving. I'm like, nigga, we suffering and we gave. I'm like, what is you talking about? I'm sorry for those people that, but that's how we were feeling. Cussing and everything. Like this, something's not right about this. I know on the outside we looking all like, yes, the Lord is blessing, but shoot, we just hollering on the way here like we ain't got no food. Like hopefully somebody maybe they eating dinner after church because we ain't got nothing at the house to eat. Like seriously, we was having those times where everything looked good on the outside, but inwardly, yeah, we giving, but we're like dying. We can't even keep our stuff on because we're giving all of this money. Like where's the money going? Like, and I read the scriptures about Malachi. It's like it's like you putting your money in pockets with holes. I'm like, but we're giving. And we ain't getting, and like nobody's catching anything. Like what were we giving to the church? What they doing with? Maybe they doing something wrong with this affecting us. Because we giving faithfully, but still we catching the short end of the stick over here. But nobody ever want to talk about that, right? But let's talk about that. That was one of the hardest things I had to pull away from, because I'm like, Father, you gave it to me, we're going to get it back to you. Right? So as Yahuwah, when we had got completely just like fed up with the church, we was just like, and not that we were like mad with people or anything, but it how they teach you, it seems logical. But like inwardly, our lives is like something is wrong, because we doing, and we know, like we giving, we doing. It's like something is wrong. Like we're missing something here. We shouldn't just be getting by all the time, just getting by, and we're being faithful, giving our tithes and offers. How are we still just getting by? And I'm like, Father, something is wrong. Let me go through here and start reading. And I still going through the New Testament, just reading through. I'm like, okay, we doing that. I was like, okay, so maybe some hidden sin in my heart. Father, forgive me. I don't know. Maybe we've been punished for sin that's there that ain't even came up yet, but you're trying to get us first before, I'm just like everything, like doing whole self-evaluation. Husband, what are you doing? Are you doing something I don't know? Like, seriously, okay, it's our house in order. Like, seriously, going through the house, maybe we got something abominable in our house. I'm throwing away kids' action figure toys and stuff. It's like, maybe they got a curse on it. Because, they teach you to be super spooky spiritual in church. Oh, that's the devil. That we got to, don't bring that if you bring a curse. Like, seriously. I was going through all
that. My action figures that went in the church, that was because y'all thought y'all was doing something wrong?
Yes.
Y'all owe me $100.
Bruh. Look, we got you. Look, let me tell you, look. But I ain't gonna keep drawing it out, but to make a long story short, I was like, Father, look, it's like we can't win for losing. And if it seemed like we winning on the outside, but we still losing while we in the church, we got to go because we got to make some moves. And my husband getting more pissed and more pissed. And I'm like, babe, he said, but look, this ain't God. God ain't going to be telling us to do this and we still struggling. I'm out here working my fingers to the bone. We getting into the church. They driving around looking like this. Look at us. We can barely keep our cars on the road. And I'm like, well, darn it, babe, you got a point. He's like, no, don't. And I'm like, look, and I'm praying. I'm like, Father, I know my husband is pissed. I'm pissed right with him. And what he's saying is making more sense than what the pastor's saying. I say, so you gave me my husband. I'm going with my husband on this. I said, if we wrong, forgive us. I said, but these kids keep coming. And maybe it's because we can't contain ourselves. But you said children are a blessing. I said, but we got to take care of these kids now. I said, now we know you love the kids. So this money, we need to make sure they can eat. We got to keep a roof over their head. And we don't need strife between us because my husband, like, you getting too much money to the church. Like, we went through that where he was like, because after a short period of time where he was like, don't you give another dime. I said, okay. I was like, well, the little money that I make, I'm going to give it from the money that I make because I can do with this. He said, this is your money. Do it, whatever you want to do with it. And so that's what I was doing. But still, it kind of broke agreement between me and my husband in our household. And it seemed like things got worse. I'm like, hold on. I was like, you know what? I'm listening to my husband. And I stopped it all together, right? Because I was making like a little bit of money during the tax season. And then one day I was going through writing it all up. And then I kind of just like put it to the side. And my husband he come check over the money, the books. Open up the account and stuff. And wait, what? And another time I had given like $13,000, not in one chunk, but over the course of 6 months, so I had extra money coming in, like during the tax season that I put aside. I'm like, I'm a bless y'all, right? And so I'm gonna give it to this ministry that I trust. And boom, my husband went off. Like, I was in tears when he got done. He said, "What are you? Didn't we have this call?" I was like, "But babe, I feel we ain't going to church no more. I feel like I need to be doing something." He said, listen, Pam, listen. God, and we would still call him God at the time. He said, God is not going to bless this. He said, if our household is divided, he said, money is just going to keep seeping out and we're not going to be able to find, we're not going to know where it's going. He said, I understand the teaching in the church and the tithes and the offering. I know your faith. He said, I know your faith when you want to give it. He said, but let us agree. Let our household agree what we're going to do with it. He said, I'm not saying we shouldn't give it away. He said, but we got people he said, we got family members we can help. And so when we had that conversation, my husband had to rein me back in. I'm like, Father, thank you for my husband. We don't see eye to eye on everything. I said, but he is a blessing to me. He really is. He kind of can't get it together. He's just bring it together. In the places where I was weak and he like, nope, absolutely not. He just bring order, just boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, well, shoot, that's kind of harsh. It seemed harsh at the moment and the flesh don't like it. It's like, look, don't talk to me like that. I ain't your child. But I had to pull myself together because I'm like, you know what? He can get all in my face. He ain't hollering at me. He's respectful to me. And he's like, listen, this, and now I'm not budging on this. He said, don't do it. Don't you go behind my back. I said, all right, babe, I'm sorry. And I bring it together. But since then, we've been more blessed since we come out of church and we made that agreement that's when our business really began to take off, people. Remember that story I gave y'all a few months ago when we was living across the street from trailer parks and the IRS showed up at our door and I was able to cut them a $13,000 check right on the spot. you know, because we had an overflow, like money, business began to pick up for us. Money just began to flow. And I'm like, how is this happening? And it blew my mind because I knew all about the tithing and offering and what they had taught us. And it's like pulling myself away from that. It's like, wait a minute, we're going to start losing. But what happened was when we broke ourselves away from that doctrine, although we didn't really understand it was a doctrine at the time, excuse me, when we broke ourselves away from that and me and my husband got into agreement, that's when we began to see a surplus and an overflow of funds coming to our house. And my husband like, well, let's have more kids. I'm like, as long as we can take care of them, we can keep having kids till I can't have no more kids, right? And so, look, we got 6 now. I'm like, look, listen, bro, we get a little older. You ain't Abraham and I ain't Sarah. But, man, you will bless us if you want to keep. I said, but look, I gotta get my body in line. We gotta, you know, but y'all, I'm just trying to show y'all a principle here, right? You know, look, Dana said, riding a Maserati, BMW, Benz, and you praying your car starts. Sis, look, could barely keep them on the road. Had to stop every 10 minutes down the road, traveling with 5 gallons of water, just so it don't overheat, so we can get to work and scrounge up more money to give to our master, the pastor. I can't. I'm trying to break y'all free from this bondage. I know some people like, oh, blasphemy. Don't go to her channel. Unsubscribe. Oh, I don't care. You keep living in bondage. But we's living free. Like, we're going to live free or we're going to die. And we're going to live free. like the 3 Hebrew boys said, listen, we know he can save us. But even if he don't know this day that we're not going to bow to you and we're going to perish in this fire. You know, so that's how I feel now. Look. Yes, Rebecca said we were more happy that the Heavenly Father protected us from a lot of stuff that came to light. Yes, amen. I do understand we had a large lawsuit. We took tithes out about $20,000 and gave to the church. A few months after, we were led to leave the church. What we found out happened with the money broke our hearts. Oh, wow, yeah. Man, there are countless of stories like that. My mom said, yes, it was one of the hardest lessons to learn. Yeah, because when you inundated with that, it's like, man, we gotta give, or everything gonna fall to the ground. We're gonna be in shambles. We're gonna lose everything. Nope. It's the absolute opposite. Because if you go read what Yahuwah says about money and giving, he said, listen, this is what I require, right? This is what I require. First of all, this money that I'm blessing you with, do with it what y'all need to do with it. If there's a need that comes across where you can help people with, you can give out of your own abundance. You help them, you bless them. You can do what you will, but don't be forced to give your money away to people who will take it all. They're going to keep asking, oh, we got this coming up, pastor's appreciation. Oh, well, let's do this for the past. Like, they keep thinking up things to get more and more money. Oh, we need a bigger church. Let's build a building. We're going to start giving to this building fund. How many churches got a building fund where they done had it for 20 years? Ain't nobody seen nothing but this picture on the wall. I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. Bye. Y'all can catch me in the desert somewhere. But me, y'all, and my money in the desert. We out. Let's go, family. Everybody coming. Ain't nobody staying here. I'm not leaving y'all here under these vicious vagabonds and charlatans. I can't. Look, making your own kid, yo, Dana, making your own kids do without to give to someone that don't much care about your life. Now that'll preach. I'm telling you, yo, Kathy, Shalom. Look, we almost done with this section, but look. We could talk about this all day. I got so many stories on that alone, and it'll blow your mind on how Yahuwah has just blessed us and blessed us and blessed us, and we ain't gave nothing to the church, right? Ain't not nailed down. You ain't getting a dime of my money. Like, I may like you. I may, you know, if I feel I give to somebody on the street, I give to somebody I don't know first. I something that I believe in, so I'll give to another cause first before and that's how I feel. I would give to a cause, a research cause before I give it to the church. I know that sounds horrible, but based on what I learned and some people, not now, a lot of people do it in ignorance, but a lot of people doing it knowing what they're doing, and they're fleecing the sheep, and they know what they're doing. And some of them are extremely good at it, and they seem so humble. Like they seem like they are full of the spirit of Yah, but I can see all through that. Like when you get the words of Yah in you, it don't matter how good they look and how good they can put words upon another. We doing this in a vision, show them the vision. You got the lights and flashing and action. It's like, Yahuwah's words, his instruction will peel back all of that glitz and glamour so we can see the bare bones, and we can see you look disgusting and you are prostituting yourself in front of Yahuwah's people for their money. And that's what a lot, and there is one particular, I'm not going to say names, but there's one particular pastor that Yahuwah's giving me a dream about all last year. I could not understand why I kept dreaming about this pastor. I was like, I ain't never been to this pastor church. They opened them up all the way around the world, but Yahuwah showed me what it looked like. It looked like this beautiful thing. You got all these different churches joining your network, and we almost joined one. That was over here. I was like, oh, they got it. I was like, okay, well, this is something. This was after we came out of church, watching it over here in Chesapeake, Virginia. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I started looking at it, and Yahuwah was like, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm going to show you what this ministry looks like under all them lights and glitz and glamour. All these young people doing all this and all these beautiful things that it look like they're doing. This is what leadership looks like. Bare bones. And I wanted to throw up. Like here, I'm going to tell you the details of the dream, but I'm going to tell you what the pastor looked like, what Yahuwah showed me. Y'all ever seen James Brown? Not you, Uncle James Brown. But it's saying James Brown, like, ow, doing all the dancing and stuff. Yahuwah showed me. That's what this pastor looked like. He removed all the nice clothing and suits and all the hairstyles he does, and he put them in front of the church, in like an old church with pews and stuff, and people, they kind of like sparsely scattered. And there was like a table of leadership of women and people, and it showed the pastor. And I'm looking, and there were cameras on them recording, but Yahuwah let me see under all those bright lights and looking good, and he was sweaty. His clothes was falling off of him, and he looked disgusting. You know how somebody they've been working on a construction, they just dirty, like sweating like that, and he had the microphone in his hand, just dancing like, look like y'all ever seen 5 Heartbeats? Nang. He looked like that, clothes falling off. I'm like, and I wanted to throw up, and I'm sitting there looking, and he stayed dancing, gyrating his body and stuff, like trying to give a message, looking disgusting, trying to pull in money. And I'm like, and I'm looking around at the church, I'm like, how are they falling for this? It was disgusting. Every time I look at that ministry, and they are growing, y'all, like wildfire all over the Eddie Kane Jr. They are growing like wildfire all over the United States. Churches are taking they're adding they're adding that church's name, that church's acronym name to the suffix of their church name. And it's because it's guys, some of y'all might know just about how I described it, but I'm like, oh, we got to stay away from there. I say, do not go there. Like I said, I never talked to the pastor, never. I watched a couple of their services, and it seemed like and he has a way with words and a way with teaching, and just pulls you in. And the men that come, I'm like, this is, now that I see it, I can't unsee it. And what's happening is, here's a telltale sign, and I knew Yahuwah was not lying to me. The churches that are coming up under them, I began to track it for a little while. And what you'll begin to see is these pastors, you got husbands and wives, some of them are single, but a lot of them is husband and wife group. What I'm seeing happening is, of course, they joined this network, so you kind of making everything uniform. But not only that, they're actually begin to take on and sound like this head pastor. This head pastor is a young guy, and they're even changing their dress. I'm like, why am I seeing all your... they're changing the way they dress and everything. Oh, snap, my YouTube. Hold on, I gotta plug it in. They changing everything. It's like they're lining up. Hold on. Ooh, I didn't realize my camera was about to go out. The power. Hold on. Okay, there you go. Hold on. I ain't even dead. What happened? I still got battery. It just completely went out. Hold on, y'all. But yeah, y'all. Taylor, first ladies paying hairstylists to pick out their clothes for Sunday. Like you can't pick out your own clothes. Look. Yeah, okay, she froze. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy. All these churches that are joining their network, y'all, you can literally see them. They're like taking on that same persona. They're starting to look just like them, right? And I mean, I get that principle, but I'm like, do y'all really know what y'all are joining yourselves to? Do y'all really know what y'all joining yourselves to? Because I saw it, and it's like, oh, Father, like you showed me, but like, why you show me? Like, cause I have no connections with none of them. But I think he probably showed me because what was happening was, hold on, let me bring it back up. Cause I was looking at it as I was doing some research. I'm checking. I'm like, okay, let's see if the churches, if they're turning back to y'all, whatever. And it sounded like, because they had began to teach on some of the truth, where let's see, restore this. He began to teach on some of the truth, the things that I was learning. But it's still like it's just it's something hidden and more sinister underneath. And Yahuwah was showing it so we wouldn't get attached to it, because like we were planning. Like I was looking up the church services and everything, like, because when we do something, we're faithful with it. And Yahuwah didn't want us joining ourselves to that. And I believe that's why he showed that. Hold on. My mama texting me. Hold on. Okay, so it still says recording. I'm froze. Can you see me over here, Shayla? And I know I got it in. We are there. I see it back up, but it's just buffering. Let me see if I can do this. Let me see this. Maybe it might bring it back on. I think it's just going to end it. It might end it. And then I put my camera back on. Yeah, man. It ain't coming back up. Shayla, it's still, if you over there, it's still recording, but the camera is off. So, I'm gonna reset the stream key. Hold on. So you don't need to update your stream then? No. Trina said, I don't know what church you're talking about, but inbox it to me so I never look at it. I sure will. Okay, but let me but that's all I was saying, y'all. I know they trying to pull it back up on YouTube, but it's out. Came over. Tell them to come over here. Hold on. Come to Facebook. Come to Facebook. Yeah, so it's I don't know what happened, y'all. And my battery didn't even die. That's why I pulled it in. That's why I was like, my battery not even dead. It just completely went out. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, so it's weird. That's why I say Yahuwah has always been faithful to us, because when we're really considering something and go to be a part of something which could end up literally being detrimental to us down the line, but we can't quite see it yet, Yahuwah will give me a dream. Don't go there. Let me show you what's really going on. Although it looks good, let me show you what I see under the surface. Like, guys, and I cringe when I see them come across. Sometimes I'll click in and just look. I'm like, oh yeah, they still got the shenanigans going. And although to the untrained eye, it looked like yes, praise the Lord, and yes, and I'm like, ooh, you know. So, but yeah, guys, it's crazy. So let me share. Somebody share the link over there. Just copy the link, and you may have to put it in the in like the I don't know, the video section. Hold on, let me see. I'll try it. I know we're about to end it anyway, but just in case those ones want to come over here to and I didn't finish reading the last of this little bit of chapter either. Hold on, let me see. Tell them to go to the chat box, not the live chat box. I'll send it to you too, Auntie. Go to the comment section. I'm sorry, where people normally leave comments throughout the day. Paste it down in there. So they'll be able to click it down in there. Let's see. Somebody type that into the live chat box. Tell them to look in the comment section to pull up the link. Somebody posted in the yeah, I'm trying to pull it up for y'all real quick too. Okay. Let's see. Right here.
You normally have this on while you recording?
Cut it off. I'll cut it back on in a second. Yes, baby. Okay, give me a second. Okay. So can y'all see it? Okay, I'm gonna post it just in case y'all weren't able to. I think I might be able to post it down here. Can y'all leave a comment? I don't look like I can leave a comment yet either. Wait a minute, Pootie. Very good. Go put some comments on your list. If y'all can leave I'm not able to do it. Maybe somebody else can do it. Okay, you got the link? There you go. Thanks, Shayla. I hope y'all can click on it. Okay. So, okay. Thanks, Shayla. Okay, so, but yeah, I'll share the link with y'all too, so that way you can see who I'm talking about. And I talk about them because I pray for them. I'm like, Father, there's so many of your people that's coming up under that, and I'm not sure. And maybe you are. You know how some people, you know how Yahuwah will tell you something, but on the outside it's like, well, maybe I'm hearing wrong. And you still continue to go on with a thing, and then you find out down the road why you should not have been there. And Yahuwah tried to warn you, but a lot of time we ignore that. It's crazy. He tried to save you from stuff way before you get entangled with it, because it's almost, this ministry is it's almost, and I hate to use this word about, it's almost like this herd immunity type thing, like the push and the pull there is strong. You can even tell it just from watching some of the videos. So if you get caught up in that sea of people in that particular ministry, guys, is if you don't know the words of Yah, you're gonna be pushed right through the masses with them. That's how strong that ministry is, because the leadership here is strong, and he big-headed. I ain't saying a bunch of people, Father, but he needs to be delivered in a lot of ways from what Yahuwah has shown me. And that I'm just saying, you might want to stay away from it, or if you're a part of it, begin to look at it. The link works. Okay, sweet. Okay, the link worked for people. Okay, so but yeah, and that's not the only one, but that's one of the fastest growing ones that's happening right now across the United States. You know, so that particular ministry, like, and there's a couple of them here. Like I said, in Chesapeake, there's like a couple in Richmond. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I was like, are none of you hearing from Yah? Like, are any of you pastors hearing from Yah? Now, what's crazy is one of the younger couples have broken away. Thank you, Shayla. One of the couples, I don't necessarily follow it, but there's things, different channels and things that I look at where people talk about it, because the ministry is like the hot topic of every, I ain't gonna say everybody's conversation, but churches are joining in under him. But there was this big thing a couple months ago where one of their main worship leaders actually broke away. Him and his wife, they broke away from it. I was like, I wonder why. See, because I have some of this particular guy, he has his own worship music, right? And there's a difference when I hear his worship music and when I hear some of the other worship music that comes out of that ministry. Anything that he is on, the presence of Yahuwah, you can feel it on it. But some of the other stuff, and even although the pastor can sing, the anointing is not on his music, it's not on his voice, although it'll captivate you. And so I'm wondering if it was now truly in fact Yahuwah that has broken him and his wife away. Y'all are too much of a treasure to be there to get swept away with this. And he moved them. And there was like this big thing. I was like, I can see between the lines of what happened here. I said, Yahuwah separated them from them, because out of all that's coming out of there, that was the only source of light that I could see coming from there, where you can feel it. Like when they talk or when they open their voice and they worship, you can feel the presence of Yahuwah. I said they descend truly from Levi. Like, because worshipers and those who serve in the temple in ministry with the cymbals and the song and instruments, they also descend from Levi, right? I said those are true Levites, and they may not know it yet. I said, but the spirit of Yahuwah rests on them in their voice and the music that flows out of them. But everything else that come out of there, I'm just like, what is going on in here? There's clearly a difference between the ones who have been separated from y'all and all this other garbage that I can see that's going on. I know y'all can see it, but people like to be quiet and keep thinking, oh, this is church business. I don't talk about this. I'm like, everybody's in trouble over there. And churches are joining to them like fire. I mean, like a wildfire. I'm like, this is, my Father, I pray for your people that they wake up. I said, but something is extremely wrong here. Okay. So we got off talking about this when we was talking about having a love for our neighbor and those of our own flesh we should take care of first and not just put them off on the world, right? Yahuwah said this is what true fasting is. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I desire that happen, right? So we're going to read this last little bit of this and we'll be done for the day. It said the goal of Torah, or the goal of Yahuwah's instruction, is love. We have to have love for our neighbor, so the suffering poor, fatherless, children, widows, and foreigners fleeing wars are everyone's concern. Paul wrote that believing Gentiles must support the needy Yahudim, or the needy among us, right? For if the Gentiles have shared in the Yahudim spiritual blessings, they owe it to the Yahudim to share with them their material blessings. And you find that in Romans 15, chapter 27. This is quite a contrast to what Martin Luther wrote 3 years before he died. And this is what he wrote. For the glory of God and his church, and mind you, he said God. He used the proper term. Like some people say God, G-O-D, but it's actually descends from Gott, which is a pagan deity, G-O-T-T. For the glory of God and his church, Jews, synagogues, and holy books should be burned and covered over with soil, and Hebrew homes should be likewise destroyed. Like they say Jews and Jewish, but they're talking about the real people, right? He said for the glory of God, or the glory of God, all of their stuff need to be destroyed. Their houses burned down, their books burned, and their houses covered. Like don't nobody. And he's talking about us. Like the truth of what we teach, he said get rid of it all. And that's what Martin Luther said. For the glory of God, G-O-T-T, and his church, Hebrew synagogues and holy books should be burned and covered over with soil, and Hebrew homes should likewise be destroyed. His writings were used by Nazi war criminals in their defense at Nuremberg. Giving to the poor is the highest form of tithing, yet spreading the gospel is never associated with a tithe in the scripture. It's just programmed into people's heads that way. Luther knew that indulgences were a fraud. Their spiritual beliefs amounted to nothing. When Yahusha told the rich man to give his wealth to the poor, he didn't want any of it for himself, nor did he say give any to the Levites. A Gentile convert to a belief, a Gentile convert to a belief in Yahusha, Acts 10, who studied Torah in the congregation of Yahuwah, is another interesting case. He was Cornelius, a Roman centurion, sent a servant and 2 soldiers to go find Kepha, or Peter. The text says he always gave generously to those in need. A messenger or malak or angel was sent from Yahuwah and appeared to him saying, your prayers and gifts to the poor, and he put it in capital letters, your prayers and gifts to the poor have come up as a memorial before Yahuwah. Acts 10 and 15. And we're almost done with this. Hold on, baby. Acts 10 verses 1 through 5. This is where the 3 sheets filled with unclean animals appear to our sleepy Peter, to prepare him to go with the 3 Gentile men who are about to appear at his house gate, something they would not have otherwise done. The vision of the 3 sheets of unclean animals wasn't about food, and this is where a lot of people get it mixed up. They think this, that means Yahuwah has blessed everything. We can eat pigs, we can eat rabbits, we can eat all this stuff. That is not what Yahuwah meant by giving Peter this vision. What he was saying is, people whom you consider unclean, people who are Gentiles, are coming to you, right? And he said, but I want you to go with them. Listen, the vision of the 3 sheets of unclean animals wasn't about food, but about the Gentiles. One use of the tithe is commanded to be for you to bring to the place he has established his name, Jerusalem, and eat it before him. If it is too far or too much to travel with, he says to sell the food or animals and put the money in your hand, and then come and buy food, strong drink, and whatever warms your heart, and eat it with joy before him, sharing what you have with those who have little. All right, son. Love you. Hey, little baby. And I gotta hurry up, y'all. He about to start crying.
Jackson, come on. Come on. Come on.
The merchants must be thrown out of the temple again, and we are that temple. The time has come now that the true worshipers in truth worship from where they are, and not in Jerusalem, as Yahushua explained to the woman at the well. But we will see the new Jerusalem when he returns and be with him. And I gotta stop right there. And that was the end of that paragraph anyway, y'all. So what he was saying, real quick, he said, even in going back to the tithe, and a lot of people say, oh, now the tithe is converted to money. Well, no, actually, when Yahuwah was talking about tithe, he talked about the food, which is tithe is always food. He said, bring it to the storehouse so that the priests can eat, right? But he also said, but it wasn't just for them. It was for everybody during the time. Bring it to Jerusalem. But he said, listen, if the travel is too far for you to travel with your tithe or with your food, with all the animals, he said, then go sell your tithe. He said, you can sell it, you can transfer. He said, get the money. The money is easy to travel with. He said, but then when you reach Jerusalem, to the place where I have put my name, he said, when you get there, take the money that you just transfer all your tithe that you just substituted for money. When you get here now, go ahead and exchange that money back for the tithe. Not take this money and give it to the priest. He said, no, take this money and go ahead and buy everything you need again. Transfer this monetary value back to the actual tithes, the food and stuff you're going to eat. And he said, you can buy whatever your heart's desires. Of course, you're going to give some to the priest and you're going to share. He said, but get whatever you want. Take this money, turn it back into the tithe, the food, sheep, goats, strong wine if you want it, strong drink, all this. He said, change it into that and eat of your heart's desire. But here, where I called the family meeting, where I put my name, this is where we're going to do this, right? And so, like I said, if you have people teaching this to you wrong, they don't even get that far, where it actually goes on to explain it. They just stop right there. Oh, now just switch it in for money and bring us the money. Nope, that is not what Yahuwah said. So, with that being said, y'all, we got to stop right here. My background is everybody up. We got to go. We are over our time today. And the YouTube is still running, but the camera is off, but the time is still running up. And it's probably still frozen. We had an hour and 26 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and pause right here. And we'll pick this back up tomorrow. We'll make my little mark. So with that being said, beautiful people, I hope y'all enjoyed the reading for today. We read 2 Chronicles 6, 7, and 8. And we also read Fossilized Customs. We started on page 52 and we paused on page 55. All right, y'all. It is Wednesday, May the 12th, 2021. Day. Josh, come get this door for Elijah, please. Day 151 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 820, 820. Remember, that is without the Sabbath days and the Sabbath feast days added into the count, because we rest on those days as Yahuwah has commanded us. All right, y'all. Remember, we watching for the new moon, right? I posted the links in the comment section of the video on Facebook. Once I finish with this, I also posted in the comment section on YouTube, so you guys can actually see it. And if you want to follow along, open the door, Isaiah. That way, if it's cloudy, you can see as the reports begin to come in. I got 3 different links. It's 3 different places. And remember, you celebrate it where you are at. If you want to celebrate it on Jerusalem's time, that's okay if you live in Jerusalem. But just remember, when Jerusalem is celebrating it, we're also going to be celebrating it because of the time difference. So we will be celebrating it at the same time. If you choose to wait, because it's always going to be a day ahead for Jerusalem when they sit, because the hours that they're ahead based on the time zone, right? So they're already, it's going to be the 12th here, it's going to be the 13th there. If we see it tonight and they call it, it's already the 13th. They call it on the 13th and you wait till tomorrow to do it, you're wrong. You waited too late. Because while we're doing it here, they're doing it there. And because of the time difference, if you don't understand that, it's going to get you off, and you're going to celebrate a holy day on an unholy day as Yahuwah has warned. Thank you, baby. All right, so let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 2 through 27. Remember 22 through 27. Remember the first 21 verses is the Nazarite vow. All right, remember, a man or a woman can take it. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. Sorry about the technical difficulties here over on YouTube. I know they ain't hear me saying this, but for those of you that came over here, sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know. Maybe it went into the power saving mode with the little bit of battery that I had left, but it wasn't completely drained. It just cut off. So I got to make sure, I got to remember to keep that plug in while we're recording, because it eats up the battery fast. So, all right, y'all. With that being said, I love y'all. And I'll see y'all back here bright and early in the morning, 7:15 a.m. Eastern.